Have you ever gotten on the wrong side of someone? When people heard about my parents and heard that they ran the Baptist Boys' Home, a home for 10 boys as well as their own 2, they would often react by saying, "Your mother must be so loving. She must be a real saint." And there's no doubt that she was. Heck, my kids would bring their friends home after school for an afternoon, and I'd soon tire of them. But my mother looked after boys from all sorts of backgrounds, 24/7. And she loved them. She cared for them when they were sick. She prayed over them. She cried over them. She worked her fingers to the bone for them. But if your idea of her was that she was simply a loving lady, a bleeding heart who couldn't walk past those in need, then you had a very narrow view of her. She was much more than that. You see, she was a formidable force, and you didn't want to get on the wrong side of her. How could you get on the wrong side of her? Hi, Mike Sears here. This is my story number 7. I just moved up from the infants up into the big primary school. There was the smell of exercise books, rubber, Perkins paste, HB pencils, and we had a new male teacher. Okay, class, get your exercise books out. Our first lesson will be on how to draw a margin. A margin will be drawn on each page of your exercise books. You will do your work on the right-hand side, and I will put your marks and my comments on the left-hand side in red pen. I was so excited, but I misheard what he had said. I thought he had said that he was going to teach us how to draw a Martian, an alien from Mars. I love to draw, and I didn't even know what a Martian looked like. First, get your red pencil out and your ruler. Now at the top of the page, make a mark an inch in from the binding. That's right. Now make another mark at the bottom of the page, an inch in from the binding. Now with your ruler and your red pencil, connect the 2 marks. Congratulations, class. You have drawn your first margin. To say I was confused and disappointed was an understatement. Weren't Martians green? That didn't look anything like a Martian. And so I blurted out, "That's not a Martian. That's just a red line." All the class laughed, but not the teacher. "What's your name, son?" "Michael Sears," I said. "That's a peculiar accent. Where are you from?" "England, sir," I said. "Ah, not another migrant. Come out here." And he gave me 3 slaps across the back of the legs with his ruler. Ow! 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 It seemed like he took an instant dislike to me. And from that day on, I could do nothing right. "When are you going to lose that stupid accent, Sears, and speak properly?" And he would call me to the front and give me 3 slaps across the back of the legs with his ruler. Ow! 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 "You spelt that word wrong again, but why am I surprised? It's Sears, the idiot." And he gave me 3 slaps across the back of the legs with his ruler. Ow! 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 "Wipe that stupid smile off your face, Sears." "But that's just my normal face," I said. So he called me to the front and gave me 3 more slaps across the back of the legs with his ruler. Ow! 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 I'm told that I became uncharacteristically quiet and withdrawn at home. Mum asked, "Is everything all right at school, Mickey?" "Yes, Mum," I'd say. I didn't want the other boys to think that I was a wimp. But when she asked the other boys, they said, "The teacher's always being nasty to him, Mum. He keeps on calling him an idiot." When my mother heard that, the smile on her face dropped. Her eyes closed to slits. You could almost see the steam coming out of her ears. "I'll be coming to school with you tomorrow," she said. The next day, she came to school with us. She watched as we lined up for class, and she watched as the teacher directed us in and then followed us in. As the teacher followed us in, my mother followed him in. He jumped when he turned around and saw her. She brought her face close to his, so close that their noses almost touched. His face went white. Her face went red. And then she said something to him. We don't remember exactly what she said. It was something to do with the medical treatment he'd have to obtain to extract her handbag from some part of his anatomy if ever he mistreated or touched one of her boys again. And with that, she turned on her heels and left. The teacher looked at us and told us to carry on with some private work, and then he left. That afternoon, we were all given a piece of paper, a note to take home, saying that if parents wanted to meet with the teachers, they first had to make arrangements to speak to the principal. The next day, Dad drove us to school. He parked the car and he got out with us, and we asked him, what was he doing? He said, "I've got an appointment to see the headmaster." We didn't know what he was going to say, but he had that look, the look that he had when he was about to tell someone off. I don't know what my father said. I imagine that he was more diplomatic than my mother. But I do know this, that I never received a slap across the legs. My accent was not commented on. My looks weren't mentioned. I was never called an idiot. Never. Ever again. So when I told this story to my kids, I'd tell them two things. The first thing was, if anyone mistreats you, no matter who they are, tell Mum or Dad, because no one will stand up for you like we will. The second thing was, I'd say to them, you know how your dad likes to talk to people about God? Well, some people don't think that there's anything to worry about. He won't punish them because he's a God of love. And they're right. But if your view of God is just that he's a God of love, you have a very narrow, one-dimensional view of him. You see, God is also a formidable force, a force you don't want to get on the wrong side of. How do you get on the wrong side of him? Well, if you ignore his son Jesus, if you ignore him and don't give him what belongs to him, then he'll get angry. What belongs to Jesus? Well, we do. If you're on the wrong side of God, Jesus made it possible to change sides. Just say you're sorry. Tell him from now on you'll be on his side. There's another thing now that my parents have passed away that gives me a lot of comfort. You see, when I changed sides and went on God's side, he made me his adopted son. So, be careful how you treat me. You see, I'm the son of the King of Kings.